All right, we are live. That was surprisingly trouble-free this morning. That's good. So, right, let's
And and
quickly.
uh, don't say anything rude about who, did you say?
Oh, no, no, no. I didn't say anything of the sort. Rude? Me? It wouldn't happen. Right, so we have a sort of agenda. Sebastian, first of all, is joining us officially. I'm sorry it took so long to invite you, Sebastian. I went on vacation right after the last meeting and didn't do anything for 2 weeks. My intention, I had the best of intentions and then just did nothing for 2 weeks except enjoyed myself, which was lovely. But we did finally get you sorted. So it's kind of the silly season for vacations anyway right now. We don't have Eric. He's got the flu. Heather's off doing something or other. So she'll be joining us at some future one. She's otherwise engaged, so to speak. That's a little in joke. We'll wait for Heather to break the news when we get Scalawags going. And let's see, is there anybody else who's meant to be here on this that we should be waiting for before we start? I think this is probably it for today, which is fine. It's just a bunch of procedural stuff, really. Okay. So, Sebastian, the first thing, which is for you guys and for everybody else, is I did finally set up a Google Calendar for scalaslip@gmail.com. It's a public calendar. So far, it only has the monthly meetings on it, but anyone can subscribe to that to get notification of when the meetings are. And I also invited all of you guys by your email, and I wanted to just make sure that the email that I used for that was the correct one to invite you on. So you don't necessarily have to answer now, but if you didn't see the invitation for this on your calendar, let me know, and we'll get it changed to the right one. Okay. Yep. All right. Moving on. The second thing is requiring. One of the things that the expert groups has convinced me of is it's too much. It's if I have to do the rounds and email everybody for the expert groups as they grow, that's not going to happen. I'm going to forget to do it, or I'm going to get too busy to do it. So I think what I'm going to do using the calendar is establish another meeting or another appointment on the Friday before the meetings, and we'll require an expert group have a point of contact, a secretary or something like that. They will be invited to that, and basically it will be an invitation for them to provide any status updates on the Friday before the slip meetings that occur on the Mondays. Unless you guys have any other suggestions, I think that's probably a fairly sane, automated thing to do, right?
Sure.
Yep. All right. I figured, but if you guys think we need more notice, I can set it a week before, but I figured Friday before is probably okay. I'll do it in the morning so people don't clear off early and leave it undone. Okay, that's that one. The role of expert groups came into question on the very long thread to do with Scala I/O, and I think there was some understandable misconstruism. I don't know. It was misconstrued. I think what we need to do is, and I've talked to Seth about this, when I get the time, I'm going to write up a blog post on what the expert groups are intended to do, that they're supposed to make their own decisions and set their own agenda and have a lot of freedom, basically. I think that was the mistake was a couple of people thought we'd put them on this expert group to just go and do some work, and they really didn't have much say in what they were doing. And it's quite the opposite. The expert group is there to decide what, first of all, a bunch of people who are interested and have the inclination and skills need to decide what to do and then go and do it. So I think that's probably a blog post. I'll run that by you guys and put it out for public review before we put it up there. But I think that will help a lot. Okay, the next one. This one's probably a bit more controversial. I'm not keen on the name, but a couple, and when we go through the slips in a minute, we'll see what I mean by this. But a couple of the slips already have had no activity within a couple of months, and I wanted to come up with some kind of label that sort of shows that they are in a dormant state, and whatever that means, I didn't want it to be too passive-aggressive, this thing. The idea is to try and kick people into, oh, really? I haven't done anything for a couple of months. I'd better update the status, or else this thing's basically going to go away. We just need to capture the reality that sometimes these things get dropped or ignored, and after a few months of being dormant, we remove them or close them. They can be reopened again afterwards, but we don't want them just sitting around taking up space, taking up mindshare. So I don't know that dormant is the right label. I also thought about needs attention or something like that. And I could also be persuaded not to do this at all if you think it's too controversial. So any opinions?
What about hibernating?
Hibernating? Yeah, I could go for that. Actually, I like that. That's kind of nice.
Sort of a less of a value judgment. Dormant is sort of slightly negative.
That's what I felt when I said it. It is dormant, but yeah, that's not really the right kind of thing. Okay, hibernate. I like that, so I'll capture that over here. We'll just change it dormant to hibernate. I like that a lot. All right, good. Next thing was sweep through the October milestone issues. So I'll share the link with you for this, but here we go, over in the chat. These are the milestone issues for October. I'll go through them in order. I think Seth's up for the first one. So the Scala parser combinators versus FastParse. Can you sort of explain that one to us a bit, please, Seth?
Sure. So there was a thread on the Scala debate. I think it was actually a mostly unrelated thread about the standard library, and somehow the Scala parser combinators library came up. I think it was used as an example of something so it's not in the standard library anymore, but it is a standard module, and it's not so great. Howie Lee has I think it's fair to say, competing library called FastParse that is fairly similar in design, but faster and more actively maintained, at least at the moment. And Martin invited him to submit it as a candidate for becoming a standard module.
Okay. So as far as this one goes, we're really waiting on Howie to decide whether he wants to do this and submit a slip for it, right?
Yes, and I think we're also, I mentioned Antoine Goulet in the ticket. Antoine is the maintainer of the Scala parser combinators module, so I would be especially interested in his opinion on whether FastParse meets every need that Scala parser combinators currently meets.
Well,
okay.
Scala parser combinators is sort of not a really central module in the library. I would imagine that at least for a while we could have two. We could have like the original ones and the much faster ones. I mean, they're clearly distinguished. One has advantages, the other hasn't. And then just see how the popularity evolves. So I think we have to tell Antoine to sort of stop doing what he does right now. Chooses to step forward. Sorry.
So right now, the parser combinators library is already a separate module in the core libraries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Currently, parser combinators are already a separate module in the core library.
And not only a separate module, but also community maintained, meaning not primarily maintained by TypeSafe or EPFL, although we would retain an interest in it.
Okay, that's good. Captured there. Okay, good. All right, so we invite Howie to take action on this if he wants to. I suppose other people, if they decide that because FastParse is open source, if they want to run with it as well, we'll welcome welcome volunteers.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so that's that one. Let's go back. Next one, Slip 27. This is Josh. Any updates, Josh? I think Josh has some microphone issues as well, so he may be typing to us right now.
Josh, are you muted?
I'm gonna say, oh, I've got the. Let's stop screen sharing for a minute. I'll read out Josh's reply. Spent my weekend on Martin's collection proposal. So did Daniel, actually. I saw Daniel came up with a fairly lengthy document on it. I'll link both of those up. I'll put that in here. Link up Daniel, Josh's proposals for collections. So yes. Okay. Anything more to say on that, Josh? It's really weird having the text to speech through me.
Well, during the weekend, I also.
We have another Josh now.
And we have two Joshes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you through my phone because it's awesome. No, I spent my weekend on the collection stuff that Martin threw out, which was I should probably make sure that I'm going to do the view stuff first. But the view stuff, there's a few comments and things to take care of. I want to get a full-up proposal out with some of the changes from Dark Demas, although I wish I could remember his actual name.
Dimitri.
Dimitri, yes.
Dark Demetrius.
Anyway, yeah. So I just need to take into account a few of those changes and try to get a more fleshed out proposal there. I still think it's pretty good. Martin, I don't know if you saw my comments on the more aggressive collection stuff you want to do.
No, I haven't seen them yet.
Okay.
Did you comment on the GitHub on the issue directly?
No, not directly, because I still haven't fleshed out my what I'm thinking. But I do want. I like what you've done with the iterator thing, but below it. Anyway, we don't have to do this during this meeting, but I'd like to try to do a something similar to Java's collector, which is a parallel reduction abstraction as like the basis underneath, and then on top of that have the iterator sequential-based collections. If that makes sense.
I would love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah. Let's just say I need to spend more than an hour on it, or more than 2 hours on it. So.
I mean, the one thing insofar as it relates to your views slip is that I'm not sure. I think we need more data whether the views should be iterator-based or transducer-based, and that's partly also why I tried this iterator-based approach.
Yeah.
The advantage of the iterator seems to be it's slightly more general. You can do zip and you can do partition in a way.
Well, actually, I figured out how to do zip with the transducer-based one. It just requires the right-hand side to be an iterator. So you can zip things where one side's an iterator and one side isn't, which is fun, but not as useful.
Okay. So you sort of blend the designs then in a way, you could say.
Yeah, like there's middle ground, I guess, is what I'm saying. So the view proposal that I have works on existing collections, is fold-based. I still think it's worthwhile to try to get that in place so we can deprecate the existing set of views as quickly as we can, and then focus on the longer-term collections without as much restriction for view.
That sounds reasonable, yeah.
So, yeah, that's the plan.
Cool.
About this transducer-based view, I've been doing my job of presenting Scala.js, and I actually experimented a little bit with the library that's on GitHub with Scala.js. Even made a pull request to support Scala.js natively.
Oh.
So it was basically just the build that needed attention because in the test suite. But I've been a little bit further in the branch. I've tried to add lots of add inline annotation on it, and playing with the Scala.js optimizer. And there is definitely potential. I managed to completely inline away a filter.map, which basically became a while loop with a test and then a multiplication and a builder that plus equal, and it just disappears. So it's pretty amazing. The only really annoying thing in there, well, I mean there are two, but they're related. It's this early return design, which is really not good for the JavaScript platform, because if you have a try catch in a method, the optimizer bails out completely, at least V8. So the entire method and the entire fused thing is just not optimized at all. So that's quite annoying. So I'm wondering whether we can come up with something that is not exception based to deal with that.
Well, so that's an implementation detail. We should be able to theoretically.
Well, sort of.
Sort of, yeah. Let's talk offline. Let's try to schedule a meeting sometime this week or next week where we can go through that. Because it'd be awesome if we could make it Scala.js compatible, which I think means we need different optimizations than we use for the VM, because different things will work better.
So I'm being Mr. Boring Dull process again. I realized that we don't actually have an issue for this yet. It seems like a pretty big field of scope, this one. So it's definitely not. So I don't think we should be combining it with your slip 27, Josh. I'll create an extra issue, and we can just start tracking all of this stuff. I'll put the links in for Daniel's work as well, and a bunch of other stuff in there, and just start collecting information. I suspect this will be a fairly long-running discussion.
Yeah.
It certainly bears that kind of discussion. So
I wasn't really suggesting to make this a slip at the present time, because it's really just more an early exploration, right?
Right. I think that's fine. I still think it's worth having an issue for it. I'll just make it clear it's not a slip at this point. It's just an issue. It's like you know what? I'll come up with another label on this thing, like exploratory or something like that, to let people know that this is, really early days for it. So.
It's good.
Okay, so that's good. Let's see the next. Let's go back to screen sharing. Okay, so the next one, async. So I think where we left this one was that Seth was going to ask what Jason actually sort of wanted or intended to happen with async in regards to the standard library, whether he wanted it included or whether it was ready or anything like that. Do you have any updates, Seth?
I guess I thought we'd talked about this last time, but maybe I'm remembering a private conversation rather than something from the meeting.
I saw something afterwards that there's some problems with it on the PC or something like that, so it may not be the time yet.
On the PC?
Sorry, on the Windows platform, wasn't that? Maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't think so. But anyway, so regardless, I can just say what the status is, which is that Jason thinks that it's not quite ready for a slip yet. He has a round of work planned that's going to be happening in the next few months that will include both technical improvements to the library and improved documentation, which overlaps with what is needed for a slip anyway. So it's on hold for now, but expected to be in better shape in a few months.
Okay. Shape in a few months. I've decided to update these as we go, because otherwise there's the tendency for me to not do anything for a couple of weeks afterwards. So if I can make the changes now, I will. Okay. That's good. Next thing is revisit by name parameters. I think this is going to be a lot. I doubt that I haven't had any time to look at it, and I don't think Josh has. I suspect not. And I had sort of the expert group stuff convinced me that I can't really be the process guy and get involved with things like this, because it would seem to be a conflict of interests right now. I think we need to give this a few months for people to gain trust in the system before I actually start wading in and starting with opinions. So anyway, anything on this one, Josh, or just keep it going and move it over to the next month? Hello? Did I lose you all?
We should just keep it going. Sorry, I'm still having audio problems.
Oh, no worries. Okay, yep. Hold it over to the next one. That's fine. The Scala I/O fix up and overhaul. This, I think, what we're going to say for this one. This was a long thread. Anyone who's interested should definitely read it. It looks like there is one new message on the end of it. Let's have a look. I think it went up because I think the last one was 74. 75. Can we choose based on what is the least amount of work we can do for the maximum benefit? Okay. I suggest people go through and read this, and I think probably what I did say was I think Howie came up with a really good set of questions, which I think is probably the first thing that an expert group would need to ask and answer these questions. So my recommendation is I'll probably reach out to Howie or whoever wants to take the reins on this and say, hey, can you actually answer these? And sort of, that's a pretty sensible first step, I think. But in the meantime, we'll put this in a blog post and tell people to go read it. This is obviously a very active slip. It does my heart good to see this much activity on something. Makes me think that this process is catching on.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think we're getting there. What's the next one? October. SIP 24 and 25. I don't think anything changed here, right? These are just on hold. Did we get any new? Yeah, no, I don't think there's any changes on that one, unless anyone's got anything to add on them. 24 and 25. This is trait parameters and repeating by names. Nope. Okay. Possible SIP changes to escapes in string interpolation. So this is one of the first ones that might be falling into a hibernating state right now because there's not been any activity on it. I'll reach out to some again.
Well, this one tried to get a group around, and I talked to some, and he basically. I mean, to put it blunt, I feel like we kind of kicked the wind out of his sails, kind of a thing.
Okay.
With some of the early comments, so he didn't seem like amazingly keen to kind of push it off in the sense that he felt there's going to be a lot of obstruction to it. But that's not to say that we couldn't say, actually, no, sorry, we do think that there's wind in the sails. Let's try to push this further.
Okay.
But you can blame me for no activity on that one. That's I reached out to some to get an expert group together. He didn't seem that interested, and that took the wind out of my sails as well. So,
okay.
But that's kind of a chicken and egg problem. So the question is, if we like this, should I go back to him and say, actually, no, we really do want to see what we can do here?
That's, I guess, okay. So that's the question we need to ask right now. How much do people want to see this change? I speaking personally, the string interpolation as it is right now does what I need. It's not a feature that I'm terribly interested in, I have to say. It's just something that's there that is useful.
I mean, this thing with people not being able to escape backroads, it is frequently, it is an FAQ. I mean, it's the I've seen it come up in chat rooms. New people are always coming by the ticket and saying, you know, I was sure this was a bug, and now I see that there's a ticket. So, it's not insignificant. It doesn't mean that I'm sure what the right change is, or whether the right change is no change, but it's certainly not unimportant.
Yeah. So I guess the key is we need to find a way to guide this to a resolution that people will accept. So I'll reach out to some again and be like, hey, we need to solve at least the new person experience where they come in and find something unexpected, as opposed to solving the whole world's problems with backticks. Does that sound reasonable?
Wait, I'm not confusing two different string interpolation things, am I?
This particular one is primarily focused around escaping quotes in string interpolation.
Yeah,
That's what it came from.
But didn't someone just say back quotes, which is something else?
Oh, backticks.
Oh.
Now so the backticks one
Sorry.
was something that Kevin.
That's number 3. Okay, never mind. All right,
Yeah.
I was not confused. I was confused about being confused.
Yeah, this one is specifically about double quotes inside of a string interpolation, double quoted string.
So
Yeah.
that's my bad, because I think I called them backticks instead of back like slash quotes or whatever. Anyway.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that is a. I can see how that other term, the backslash quotes, could be backticks confused. All right, so stick that comment in there. That's your action item for this one. Okay. Next one. Binary literals. I think this is down to Eric if he's watching. Binary literals, underscores in literals, and so on. I think the soft consensus at this point was to see what we can pull in from Spire, right? The Spire library, possibly, or something like that. But there's been no update on this one, so this is another one I'm thinking of slapping the hibernated label on for now. Okay. I assume silence means that you guys don't have anything to add to that. So, all right, implicits in for comprehensions. This is, I think, Harold. Was this Harold Lee? Yeah, and pattern matching. Yeah, I've been chatting with Harold, and he mentioned that he's keen on doing it. His Twitter status said he might try coding it up again. Again, haven't heard anything, so this is probably going to go into a hibernating state too. But I'll be sure and reach out and chat to Harold and see how things are going there. And then finally, oh yes, so this was the final one, which is the either all the way through to validation slip, which the expert group had an action item of trying out each other's libraries and coming up with something. I totally understand because it's vacation silly season, but my understanding is this hasn't happened yet, so this action item continues over to next month, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, no worries. So that's good. All right, so that's all of the sips and slips. Let me get back to on-screen sharing. Stop. And then, was there anything else left on the agenda today? What's left? Sweep through the October. No, that's it. Unless you guys have anything else.
Well, so what about this collection stuff? Should is there an issue sort of tracking that already?
I will set one up and ping me with any links or any information. Just ping. Stick them in Scala/slip. Scala/slip on Gitter. I'll collect them and put them into an issue. Just like a bunch of links, because I know Daniel had one that was largely type class based that he sort of wrote up over the weekend, which looks quite interesting for pondering. So we'll just start throwing those in there and get a discussion going. In an ideal world, it will generate at least as much discussion as I/O did, possibly more. And then the trick will be curating it all after that.
Well,
so
I think next month. This is my theory. I think in a few weeks, either things will die down, or we'll have to start a expert group and start actually actively formulating something.
Right.
Like the proposal we want to go with. But like analyzing trade-offs and performance and all that will be fun. But yeah, I would expect next month is when we're going to have to actually do process around it. For now, it seems like experimenting is a great idea because there's a lot of good ideas flying.
Right. Okay, so I'll create an issue that's got an experimental or experimentation label on it, something like that. and just we can start chucking things in there for people to read up on and consider if they're interested in it.
The other question I have there is, it seems like we actually might want to call for help for a some sort of source compatibility checker for these libraries where you want to check source compatibility, but it's a different library. So you want to check source compatibility, not replacing in the Scala standard library and building everything, which is what our tools do now. We want to have a library over here where we can basically, remove some pre-def imports, import something else, and then check whether or not things still compile to give us a notion of what we're breaking with these like deprecation and moves.
So maybe an oversimplification, but how much of that could be done by simply taking the unit tests for the current collections and sort of cloning them off into a testing suite for that?
Well, actually, Rex Kerr has a collection test suite that he's working on for TypeSafe, so he's on that.
Cool.
Rex
can I see that? Or get access to it? That'd be awesome.
Yeah. To tell Rex you want it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. If we make an expert group, he definitely has to be on it. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. I've got those. I'll do those right now so that they don't wait 2 weeks again. And I'll put together some kind of short minutes for the blog within the next day or two, Seth. So I know you're good at keeping me on track on that stuff.
You're going to try and beat my record.
So, all right. I think that's it, unless anybody's got anything else. Thank you, guys. All right.
Okay, that was short.
Yeah. If we only need to do as much as we need to do. I think that last month's was unusual in that we had a lot of tougher decisions to make. This month, I think most people have been on vacation. There haven't been a ton of developments. So, okay. See you guys.
See you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.